Hello, hello, and welcome to episode 11 of Baki Talki. We've got another Dorian episode. I'm really looking forward to discussing this one, just like every week, but especially because we've got a special guest, our first ever foreshadowed guest on the podcast. We mentioned her back in episode 2, Allie. Welcome to the show.
Baki Talki crew, I'm here. Can't wait.
Ooh, the Baki Talki crew. I like that. Did you just come up with that?
I'll be honest, Steve. I've been thinking about it a lot today. I watched your episode and I thought, what would the fans be called? We had a couple other names in progress, but the Baki Talki crew was what stuck.
That's great. I think that's going to be a lot better than Weirdos, which I think would be the previous term.
That's okay. You know, they can call themselves whatever they want in private.
That's all right. All right. Allie, so 2 questions I like to ask everybody just to let the audience get to know you. So first off, other than Baki, what shows are you currently watching?
Oh, of course, The Summer I Turned Pretty for the second time. It's a big staple in our household, meaning I'm watching alone and Max is not watching at all. So he's been shunned to the living room so that I can watch the show over and over again. For the Baki Talki fans that don't know what I'm talking about, go check it out. It's all about YA teen romance.
Oh, like in a meta sense, or it's just like another YA teen romance?
Yeah, it's just another, YA teen romance in the summer with the beach, with brothers. So it's all you could ever, ask for.
Dating a pair of brothers or dating your brother?
Well, I'll leave that up to the Baki fans or Baki Talki fans to figure that out themselves.
We do have a lot of fans of Walkie Talkies who end up unfortunately finding the podcast. All right. So great recommendation. Second question for you. Before watching this episode, what did you know about Baki?
That's a great question. I did walk in, I'll be honest, have to say I had a spoiler. I walked in on Max watching episode 2. And there was a lot of peeing. And I was disturbed, and I said, "What are you watching?" And that's how I found out about the podcast. I've been a fan ever since. But it was quite something. My entrance into Baki was peeing.
Yep. I'm keeping a track for this season how many times we see people just peeing. We're at like 4. But...
Well, yeah. You know what? It was cool, too, because, they weren't jarred. It wasn't like, oh, this is a big scene. It just happened to be in the bathroom. Men were taking off their pants, and the scene just kept going.
Yeah. Well, it's normalizing it, Everybody pees.
Exactly. We gotta normalize the pee. Free the pee,
Free the pee. I think you gotta be careful with that one.
Well, I guess clearly you've never seen Bridge to Terabithia. Free the pee is the main point of that child book.
I've avoided it for different reasons, but now I can avoid it for multiple ones. All right. So let's jump into the episode. So at the end of the previous episode, Dorian had just finished beating up a bunch of people. And we had learned that Dorian is actually Kaio Dorian, and he is the same title as Retsu. And so that continues with this episode with Retsu describing how he cannot fight Dorian. Allie, this scene, to be honest, I just want to get your thoughts. Like, this episode sort of starts in the middle of the action. Were you able to follow along with what was happening?
Well, I'm glad you gave a little bit of context because I didn't know who Dorian was when we started this podcast 3 minutes ago. But I do remember who you're talking about now. You mean the long-haired man. Who is
the big guy.
15 feet taller than everyone else.
Yep.
Okay. So, I had some thoughts. First of all, I did actually like the intro song. So it started on a high note. Really liked the intro song.
Love it.
Lots of heavy breathing in the first minute. I was a little bit turned off. All the characters, and now I get it. They were upset about this fight. So I didn't really understand where we were coming in. Everyone just was breathing very heavily, and I could tell they were upset. Now, it wasn't until minute 12 when I realized none of the heavy breathers were Baki. That was confusing.
Yeah, this is actually the first episode in a while that Baki's shown up. He's sort of
he doesn't come to his own show.
Not every episode.
I guess he's been off dating his girlfriend.
Oh my god, I can't wait to talk about his Kozue scene at the halfway point.
Yeah, the makeout. I wasn't sure if that was their first ever kiss. It was so awkward. I didn't know if they'd kissed before.
I think it was their first kiss, but it even giving them that, it was still quite odd.
But yeah, so to your question though, it was a little bit hard to follow. I understood enough that like long-haired man had done something bad.
Mm-hmm.
He was being punished. Didn't understand how the scene on the bench connected, but figured the main storyline was the tall man.
Yes. Yeah, I would go so far as to say it doesn't connect.
Okay.
And yeah, so Dorian, just for context, just super quick, Dorian is a death row inmate who broke out of prison to come to Japan to seek defeat, and he's been beating up all of the guys at Shinshinkai, which is Doppo Orachi's karate studio. That's the guy with the eye patch.
Oh, so what did he do to get in jail?
Oh, who knows? Well,
oh, okay, that's not a big plot point. Okay.
Yeah. When he left
Season
jail,
2,
he did kill like 20 guys, but we don't know how he got into jail.
Maybe killing 25.
Yeah, that'll get you into death row. But yeah, Dorian's been a bit of a menace. He's lit people on fire. He's cut off people's hands. He had a grenade that he threw at a bunch of people. He's done a lot of stuff, and so in the previous episode, 2 episodes back, it's been pretty slow. A million martial artists drove him to an amusement park where he will meet his fate, which is what happens in this episode.
Oh, so he actually died in this episode?
No. Sorry.
No, because I was going to say, if he did, I missed that. I felt like it ended abruptly, and I thought to myself, I'll never know what happens to this guy. But I guess you told me he dies. No.
He doesn't die in this episode. I just more
spoiler. Sorry, sorry, Baki Talki fans. It's a bit of a spoiler.
All right. Well, let's jump in. So after Retsu and Dorian talk, and Retsu says that he can't fight him.
As much as you deserve to die for your crimes, the teachings of Kung Fu absolutely forbid battles between fellow students.
Doppo steps forward and says that he will fight him, and he reveals that he is, of course, known as Doppo the Tiger Slayer.
Doppo Orochi, a.k.a. the Tiger Slayer.
It's been more than 20 years since I defeated that beast. An 8-foot-long, 570-pound Siberian tiger. Man, what a young fool I was.
I wanted to get your thoughts on that feat of being able to defeat a tiger in hand-to-hand combat.
Yeah, I had a lot of thoughts about that. One, he says, this is a story I've never told anyone.
It's not something I'm very proud of. But honestly, I never told people about it.
Except everyone around him somehow knows the story.
Tiger Slayer? I thought that was nothing but a legend. It's true?
That story is true?
So that was confusing.
Well, you know why? So
I don't.
Every time we see Doppo, they start with an establishing shot, and it's the same shot of his building. His building is an 8-story tall dojo with a mural of him killing a tiger. So I don't know what he means by he hasn't told people. He has an 8-story tall mural of him doing this.
So he has a little memory loss, so that actually helps with a lot of things. So he has some memory loss. He's beat up the tiger. I was a little bit confused because he goes on to say, I shouldn't have, killed the tiger. It was really bad. The environmentalists came after us. Well, then why did you do it? What were the motives? I needed a little bit more about that backstory because I felt for the tiger. He didn't get enough screen time.
I agree. I always assumed that he killed the tiger like in the jungle or something, but it looked like he was just in an arena. And somebody...
It looked like the tiger had, like almost transformed. Like maybe it started as a human and then it transformed to a tiger and he beat him up.
It's
that
possible.
That was my theory.
It's like
I
a
had a second
Nagini
thing
type
I
of
wanted
situation.
to ask you about. When he says, I'm retired, what has he been doing the rest of the series? He says, the son says, you said you were retiring.
If anyone's taking care of this guy, it's me.
Forget it, Dad. I'm here representing the Shinshinkai.
I founded the Shinshinkai, boy!
You said you were retiring.
Whoa, what's going on with that storyline? Is he retired or not retired?
Yeah, it's a good. I think what he's done is he's left the running of the dojo to his son, and just being a badass karate guy, the Lord of War Tiger Slayer, is now his day job. So he's just retired to focus on his hobbies.
Oh, good question.
Yeah.
So then, if they don't know about the tiger, what did he do to get this Lord of War title?
I don't know. He just beat up a lot of guys. I don't know. Nothing as cool as beating up a tiger, I'll tell you that much.
I guess that's a good point. Nothing is as jarring as beating up a tiger.
Yeah, or killing.
Can you imagine punching a tiger? Absolutely not.
I could imagine punching a tiger. I can't imagine it having any impact.
Okay, fair. That's a good point.
So Dopo strips down. He was wearing his athletic shorts underneath his nice suit. When I was watching him do it, I was thinking like, you know the old phrase like, I put on my pants just like everybody else one at a time. Did you notice how Dopo jumped out of his pair of pants?
Yes, and I was worried he was jumping out of his underwear as well. I thought there actually might be some male nudity.
It gets close to it. Like at the beginning of each fight, we do have to take some time so that we can show the guns off, but we never get quite that much nudity.
It's very homoerotic. Like, I felt like they were all looking at each other's bodies, and they would go, after everyone's stripped, they would go, ooh, ah.
Yeah, it is something to appreciate, like these are extremely muscly people. Like, it takes a lot of effort and discipline to get to that point, I would say.
I wouldn't know, I'll be honest. I'm nowhere near that level of muscle, but I think you're probably right. It doesn't happen overnight.
Yeah, and fair point. Maybe we're wrong. Maybe with just the smallest modicum of effort, we would look like Dorian.
The Tiger Slayer. That's the other guy, right?
Dopo's the Tiger Slayer, yeah. And then Dorian is the big guy. So the fight starts off, and unlike everybody else who Dorian has fought, Dopo actually looks like the favorite. And we get a very fun reveal where Dopo punches him with his cast, because he had his hand cut off in episode 4. And then it turns out that his hand was underneath the cast the whole time. So he has his hand back.
You just gotta love it, don't you? The wonders of modern medicine.
Allie, can you walk us through how he got his hand back?
Well, I'm glad you brought up episode 4, because I'll be completely honest, I didn't realize that was a flashback. It took me, I actually, first watching it, thought that the fight was over, he'd won, and then I said, how did he lose his hand? So I didn't know that was a flashback. However, my nice companion that I was watching with said, it's a flashback, it's in black and white. So that's how I figured it out. That's point 1. Point 2, apparently it gets sewn on back to his body without anesthesia.
So this is gonna hurt like hell. But the good news is you'll be playing the piccolo again in 3 days.
So that was, whoa. I thought to myself, I've seen Grey's Anatomy, and this does not happen in real life. So this guy must be, he's the Tiger Slayer. He has, the ability to get through it, but that would hurt a lot.
Did that really never come up on Grey's Anatomy?
You know what? They never run out of that at the hospital. I think that's one thing. Probably that and Gatorade. They keep backlogs of that.
Well, and if you have one, you have the other.
Good point. And if you don't, you just substitute.
Yeah.
What
would be worse? If you needed anesthesia and they used Gatorade, or if you needed Gatorade and they used anesthesia?
Yeah, to the fans, the Baki Talki fans, in the comment section below, feel free. What would be worse? I think it would be worse if I wanted a Gatorade and they gave me anesthesia.
Yeah, it would be really quite a downer. There's not a lot of electrolytes.
So that was pretty nuts. When the hand came out, I was pretty shocked, especially because I had no background knowledge to know he lost the hand.
Yeah. So
I just thought, why does he wear a cast around? I thought maybe it was an accessory. I thought it was a mitt.
Just a really thick mitt that gives him a little extra punch.
Exactly. Like maybe he likes to cook, and I don't know that part of his character.
Yeah. Maybe he does. I don't think he's ever discussed it one way or the other on the show.
Do they eat a lot on the show?
Oh, no, not really. They don't do a lot on this show beyond fight and talk about the other guy fighting.
And kiss on a bench.
Yes. But to be fair, Kozue is the female character in Baki, so there's not a lot of people to kiss. I wish they were a bit more progressive in this Pride Month record, but
well, they just do look at each other's naked bodies, so there is that.
That was progressive in the 90s when this was probably written. Yeah, I love that scene where Dobo gets his hand sewed on, mostly because he's just there's a few different times this episode where just insane sights are like he's just walking down the streets of Tokyo with his hand a literal stump, and he's doing the stupid thing where he's pushing his fist into his arm so the blood doesn't come out, and he looks like he could be doing it all day.
So how did his hand get cut off?
Oh, great question. So Dorian has this dental floss that's as strong as like iron, and he like snaked it around his hand when he wasn't looking, and then he went "Hua!" and then pulled the little wire, and it cut his hand off instantly.
God, that sounds so. It's kind of funny that it is that hand that ended Dorian.
Yes. Oh yeah. Oh well, he's gotten so much like so many poetic justice moments. The way he beat Dorian the first time was punching him with the stump where his hand used to be, and saying, "Now I don't have to worry about breaking my fingers."
Oh my! So they know each other. They've fought quite a few times.
Just once, and they'd never met before. They've actually really they really don't know each other.
Oh, see, they act as if they have this long rivalry.
Yeah, no. I think they just respect each other. Anywho, where were we in the story?
The severed hand.
Yes, and it got put back on. But there was one last part I wanted to talk about before we get into the romance subplot. Dopo punches. Dopo says, "I'm going to use karate," and of course Dorian says, "Well, then I'll use kung fu."
All right then. But if you're going to challenge me as a practitioner of karate, then it's only right that I accept the challenge as a practitioner of kung fu.
And I don't know why they clarified that, because then Dopo just punches Dorian straight in the gut and makes him barf up a jar of acid.
Kung fu, huh? What kind of kung fu technique is that? Acid.
Which is never referenced again in the episode, honestly. So I was wondering, why do you think he had acid in his stomach?
Well, that's a good question. I at first thought that was a bottle of whiskey, and I thought it was supposed to be a backstory about him being an alcoholic. So that was my first initial reaction. I thought, oh my god, he's drunk, and that's why he's gotten in so many fights with people. He swallowed the bottle whole. Then my companion that I was watching with said, "That's acid," and that's when I realized it's acid. So I think, why does it happen? I guess it's supposed to show how strong Tiger King is, because he's able to, boom, get the bottle right out of the belly. Second of all, I guess it shows us that Dorian doesn't have the ability to squirt acid anymore. Those are my two guesses, but my original one, definitely, I thought it was a bottle of alcohol.
I thought that too, yeah. Part of me was wondering if maybe he has like a stomach issue where he doesn't create his own acid, so he just eats jars of acid to help digest food. But yeah.
I thought maybe he was like, his attack mode was to shoot acid at other people. But again, this was my one and only episode. Sorry to the fans. I probably won't be following along afterwards.
That's fine. That's what I want in my guests to have.
You want them to never watch the show again.
Well, as little context as possible. All right. So Yes, Doppo punches the acid out of him. It's looking like a good fight for Doppo Araji. So we leave that fight, and for no real reason, we go back to Baki, who we haven't seen in quite a while, and he's on a date with Kozue. Man, the cinematography in this scene, it's just them sitting on a bench for the entire duration, and I think we get every possible angle of them, every zoomed in facial expression. We see the zoomed in feet walking past us. I think it might have, I think it should have been nominated for an Emmy.
Well, I mean, I have to tell you, before this scene happened, I was thinking to myself, where is the romance? Where is the love? Then this scene came on, and I thought, we don't need any more of that. It was a lot. I was confused. I thought they were breaking up. They seemed so unbelievably uncomfortable with each other. I thought they were breaking up.
Baki, listen. It's like, lately, we've been spending all our time together.
There's something wrong with that?
No.
Then it seemed like they were declaring their love for each other, to which they have their apparently first ever very passionate kiss, where the passerbys go, woo! Can you fathom having your first kiss and then 15 people go, woo! in the background? Aww.
Yeah, no, I would not. Honestly, I cannot fathom it.
No, who can? That's so weird. Not only that, she goes, I wasn't breathing. Oh my god, that was the most danger anyone was in this episode. She could have died. She wasn't breathing. And that kiss went on for a long time.
This is why they really have to start teaching, I wouldn't say safe sex, but safe sexual activity, remembering to breathe when you kiss.
Yeah, we'll just call it Kissing 101. Rule number 1, breathe.
Yeah.
But it was cute. Like it was fine. It was nice to see some romance. I appreciated the female identifying character, but I'll be honest, it's not a couple I'll probably watch compilation videos of. I'm not sure if I'm super invested in their future, but I wish them all the best.
The second this is over, I'm going to be looking up compilation videos of Baki and Kozue, because I'm pretty sure a third of their screen time together is just them on that bench. So
so that's an important bench for them. Why?
Oh, I just mean that Kozue is not a very integral character. Unfortunately.
Unfortunately.
I do like her because she's the only character who sees issue with fighting for no reason. It's a nice perspective.
Oh, really? So is she ever at the fights? Does she ever go and watch them?
She watched some before the show started. But no, I don't. Not usually. Like, when the Raitai tournament starts up, she flies to China with Baki. That's a whole other can of worms.
And how old are they? I couldn't tell if they were 13, 17, 23.
Baki is a high schooler. I think he's either 16 or 18. Somewhere in that range.
Okay. So we hope she's probably the same age as well.
Kozue is 10.
No.
I'm kidding.
Oh my god. Oh my god.
I think Kozue is the same year as Baki.
Oh, I hope so. Oh my god. Now I would understand why she wasn't breathing. She'd be terrified.
Oh boy.
Well, I wish them all the best. Maybe they'll go to prom together. That might be, episode 30. It'll be the finale. They go to prom. The Tiger King shows up.
All of Baki's buff friends show up at prom. No.
Are they friends, by the way? I was a little confused how he fit into the fighting story.
I would consider them more allies. Basically, this season, 5 death row inmates spontaneously flew to Tokyo to fight the best fighters in the world. And Baki's one of them, so there's 5 Japanese guys and 5 death row inmates. So they're on a team, basically.
Oh, and is this season 1? Is this the first time we've met these characters?
Great question. This is the first season of the Netflix anime Baki, which takes place after a previous anime from 2001. So it's sort of the first season and sort of not the first season.
Wait, this is a new show?
This show is from 2018.
Oh my god, I thought this was from the 80s or 90s.
It was
This
written
whole
around
time?
then, but
Oh my god. Because when you said, we're not expecting much more, it's in the 90s, I was like, yeah, that adds up. This being written a couple of years ago is nuts to me.
Yeah, to be fair, the source material it's based on is from the 90s, but the show, the show itself came out in 2018 and is currently still airing, or at least Baki
No.
Hanma is.
So you got lots of episodes to go. Talkie Baki fans, don't worry.
Oh yeah,
Steve is sticking around.
we got at least a year of this, so.
Oh my gosh, wow.
Yeah.
So will you have return guests?
Yes, of course. That's why I'm not telling all of my guests to watch the show, because then I can bring them back on.
Good point, because I'd be interested. If there's a prom episode, you can have me back.
I'll keep that in mind. There's no prom, but maybe there's something. Anywho, so yeah, it's tough to describe this scene without just visually watching it. They kiss, Kozue can't breathe, and then they decide to walk off into the Tokyo night. It ends with a very intimidating shot of Yujiro just sort of T-posing in the crowd.
Well, Baki, it seems you're growing up.
Did you have any idea who that was?
Absolutely not. Unfortunately, my co-watcher said, "Oh, that's his dad." I thought, in what world is this passerby so angry to see two children kissing? It makes a little bit more sense that it was the dad, but
Yeah.
unfortunately, I had someone making some comments in the background. But I was confused. I did not know who that was. He was pretty tall too, I'll be honest. He was a pretty tall guy.
Baki's dad is by a wide margin the deadliest creature on the planet. So yeah, he's tall.
And does he not like this relationship? Like, is that something he doesn't approve of, or is he just generally mad at everything?
That's just what his face looks like. He actually is not mad about this. Yeah, I really can't spoil it because it's one of my favorite parts of the season. But Yujiro has some thoughts on Baki's relationship, and that'll come up, I think, in the next few episodes.
Interesting. Stay tuned, Baki Talki fans.
Keep your ear on the dial.
I don't know what dial you're referring to.
All of my fans listen on walkie-talkies.
Oh, walkie-talkie. Call back.
Let's call back to the main plot line now. So Dorian and Dopo are back to fighting each other.
I hit you like the proverbial ton of bricks, and there you are getting ready for a counterattack.
You've devoted your whole life and sacrificed everything for karate. That's the reason why you don't stand a chance of winning.
And this is where I would say this is where it gets off the rails. Who knows if it's been on the rails for any point of this episode, because Dorian starts doing sort of a little dance for Dopo. I would liken it to snake charming.
What the hell? Bad enough he's got the nerve to turn his back on us. Now he's gonna make us watch him perform?
What did you think he was trying to do there when you first saw it?
I'll be honest, I really was like, wow, this is a very, like, homoerotic show. Like, they're showing the homosocial relationships. Like, I actually thought he might have a crush on the Tiger King. And I thought this was his way of opening up, and he was actually saying, I don't want to fight. I want to be friends, and this is a dance, and I'm showing it to you. And then I thought maybe he's ready to die, and he's doing this dance as a bit of a last song.
Oh man, that sounds like a beautiful moment.
Yeah, unfortunately, I was wrong.
Yeah, I know. Fans who've watched the previous episodes, Dorian was hypnotizing him again, which is a classic trick used by. I don't even know who would ever use hypnotism in a fight.
Retsu, what is this? Some kind of kung fu thing?
What you're seeing isn't kung fu. I think he's been hypnotized.
The narrator shows some pictures of boxers and other martial artists doing it as if it's just a thing people do sometimes. But yeah, he hypnotizes Dopo into thinking that he is winning the fight. If you could hypnotize people by dancing, would you use it primarily in I guess what I'm saying is, if you had the power to hypnotize people this easily, like basically like a Chris Angel mind freak situation, would you go into a life of crime and just fight people, or do you think there's like a better way to use that power?
I think it's pretty obvious there's a better way to use that power. I can think of a couple things. More Reese Witherspoon movies. Let's get her going. Obviously, there are other good things you could do as well, but I think if I could hypnotize people, there's quite a few people I would hypnotize right now, fix some world issues, and then maybe get myself some free clothes.
Wow, selfless and also getting free clothes.
Selfless and stylish, the way it should be.
It's funny because, to be honest, I wish Dorian had taken that approach just so like he could cover up a bit, because he's showing off his huge muscly chest the whole episode. But unfortunately, the majority of the budget for this season went into this episode, and we get a lot of horrible CG rendering of Dorian and Dopo fighting each other.
That's a great point, because again, that's why I thought the show was so old. That CGI was horrific. I thought, it was pretty bad for 20 years ago. Learning that this was something that was created a couple years ago, that wasn't good. That looked like, it almost looked bad on purpose.
It's extremely ugly. But the nice thing is, this is episode 11. I think the first season ends at episode 13, and then I think we are done with all of that horrible CGI stuff. They realized it looked bad pretty early on.
They heard the podcast.
Yes. So
Would you hypnotize people?
Would I hypnotize people? Honestly, I think I'd do the same thing as Dorian. I think I would fly to Japan and hypnotize the greatest martial artists there so I could taste defeat. Because much like Dorian, I've never lost in my life, and I think the only way to do that would be by hypnotizing people to give them
the only
edge.
way.
Yeah,
exactly. Although I don't think you're giving them an edge when you hypnotize people.
That's the difference between me and Dorian. I'd be hypnotizing them and telling them like all of the tips and tricks to use to fight me.
Oh, so that's interesting. That makes it original.
Yeah. I think I'm an original guy.
You heard it here, folks. Baki Talki fans.
I thought we were the Baki Talki crew.
Oh shit! I keep calling it Baki Talki crew, but they're all your fans, interchangeable.
I've been thinking about when this podcast gets big enough and I can start buying some merch. Maybe I'll just buy like a Baki Talki crew shirt and it'll just say Baki Talki on it, and people will realize you're in the Baki Talki crew.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And how will you distribute them to your fans? Is it free for all, or do they have to pay to buy the merch?
I think it'll be pretty easy. I can probably just take a backpack of them when I go home for the holidays, and that'll hit 90% of my fan base.
1 for each member of your family, 2 for Lindsay, 3 for Johnny.
Yes. Oh my God. Johnny will actually wear it. I was telling Lindsay I'm gonna buy a T-shirt that just is a big picture of Baki Talki with text that says "Listen to my podcast," and that'll be.
I like that. Or what if it's a picture of you, like you put yourself into one of the scenes, and then you say, "Hey fans," and then that's what you can give out to your Baki Talki crew.
You know what? I'm gonna. For all the fans out there, feel free to enter a contest. If you can insert me with my non-public face into a scene, that is honestly very funny. I'm going to think about that. Oh, man. All right. Winding down the end of the fight. So, Dopo is hypnotized. Katsumi, his son, is just beside himself on the sidelines, like telling his dad to wake up.
Hey, Pops. What are you doing? Hey, wake up. Come on, old man, get your head in the game. Dad, what the hell's wrong with you? You're looking the wrong way.
And then, as Dorian goes for the finishing blow, Dopo blocks him because even hypnotized, he is able to keep fighting. The rationale they give in the show is that Dopo knows that there's no such thing as an easy fight, and so his body, even though he was hypnotized, was able to keep fighting.
So he was faking it all along. He was never hypnotized.
Yes, he was. He still is. But but he knows it.
I don't have much to add other than I think Doppo is the coolest character with the coolest voice and the coolest eye patch, and great moves by him.
This scumbag's pathetic.
Yeah, I would say that was the biggest plot twist of the episode. You start with he's hypnotized. Then they say he is hypnotized, but he knows he's hypnotized. Then, third, they say he was so hypnotized he doesn't remember being hypnotized. So they took us on a few different turns there I wasn't expecting. I was pretty impressed with the plot twist.
It's a well-crafted show. Yeah, and that brings us into the end of the episode. Dorian gets his ass handed to him a bunch and realizes that Doppo might be the person who's able to show him the taste of defeat.
Could it be that I've found, at last, the one who will finally make my dream come true?
Why did we end the episode there instead of when Doppo... Or why end the episode there instead of at the conclusion of the fight? Who knows? But we'll get to that next episode.
Yeah, that was a little sad. So, I mean, maybe you can't say because maybe it's a spoiler. Is he just looking to be defeated, or does he want to die? Like, I kind of was sad a little bit. I didn't know if he was trying to be killed or if he just wanted to find someone better than him. It was pretty sad way to end the episode.
It's a great question. I think that he wants to taste defeat, and if you asked him, he would say that being defeated means being killed. But I don't think he would have ever connected the dots. I don't think he has a death wish. I think he just thinks it'd be really cool to be defeated. Yeah.
Maybe therapy would have been good.
Yeah.
There's no therapist in the show.
Imagine he did see a therapist, and the therapist was like, "Have you considered going to Japan to to work through your issues?" Actually,
the prison therapist said, "I know what's gonna make you feel better. You just have to taste defeat. First, break out of jail. Next, find the 5 best fighters. Fight them all. Cut off one of their hands."
When you burped up that acid, how did it make you feel?
Some of the fans thought that it was alcohol. Do you drink alcohol? Then, we get into all these sub-conversations.
Yeah, really flesh them out. All right. Now that you've watched an episode of Baki, do you think that Baki is a good show?
Ooh. I think good is relative. So for me, we're going to probably have to go with a hard pass, but not to offend the Baki Talki fans. If you think it's good, that's okay. I think on all elements that I wish the show would thrive, it failed. But I very much enjoyed writing down my little comments and getting ready for the podcast. So I think as a one and done show, loved it. Like, that was great. Will I ever sit on my couch and return to the Baki fan base? I guess we'll have to stay tuned to find out.
Ooh, a cliffhanger. That'll be good for engagement. Remember, if you want to find out if Allie ever comes back on the show and watches another episode, make sure to follow, like, and review. Yeah. Thanks for coming on the show, Allie. This was a blast and a half. If you want to keep on listening, make sure to, as I said, subscribe, because the end of the Dorian saga is just around the corner.
Spoiler.
Yes, spoilers. And yeah, that's all the Baki we've got to talkie. So until next week, see you later.
Bye, Baki Talki fans.
It's the Baki Talki crew.
生すぎる Song Friday